Claude ignore. Are you guys familiar with Claude ignore?
Yes, I am. That's what came to mind. I'm trying to remember if I've seen Claude ignore before.
So Claude ignore works very similarly to git ignore. And so when you add a file or folder to Claude ignore, that will not be counted in any sort of activity Claude Code runs. So it's another way to potentially save on tokens. So you guys don't have to, let's say like these items, node modules. You don't want Claude running through your node modules because that's just an unnecessary thing. This project doesn't have a node module folder yet, but essentially anything that you want ignored by Claude Code as you're operating on things, you can actually now add it to .claude ignore, and it'll make sure that it doesn't read that folder or that file as it's continuing to work on your project. It's a nice little handy tool for you guys to be aware of as you're working on different things. The other thing is as you're working on files, you know that you can always reference files like this, right? And you can also, identify the number of which lines you want to actually have Claude read versus the entire file. So if you have a very large file, you can actually identify which lines you want it to read, right? So that's a nice little handy tool. So Robert,
what was it? How did you pull that up again? I was writing notes. Missed it.
So if you just do an @ symbol, you can call any file or folder here. So if I, let's say, do this, then you can identify just a line like this. Right? So you can see here that when I put this L1, right? It didn't read the entire file. It just only read one line. Well, this file happens to be empty, but if you had a long file, right, and you don't want it to read the entire file, but you just only want to read, let's say, a certain number of lines, you can identify and call the lines that you want Claude Code to read. So if I go,
Alex, I know you're using VS Code. Is that @ functionality available in the terminal by itself?
Yeah, it's just part of Claude Code. So you can see here, guys, I have, this is another document here. So when I did L20 to 30, it's only going to read those 10 lines. It's not going to read the entire file. So that, again, it's another mechanism to help you save on some context. Because as last time, a couple of conversations centered around losing context or going past your usage limits. And so something to be aware of as you guys are working on files.
Gotcha. And so that command that you put in your Claude ignore file was node modules starting with an L.
Oh, that's just, yeah, Alex, that's just an example of what you might add to your .claude ignore. So typically in git ignore for Next.js projects, you'd want to add these items to your git ignore. And so I actually might just take this and copy this entire thing and bring it into Claude ignore. And this, yeah, so the node modules is, again, it's something that would happen if you have a fully scaffolded Next.js project. So depending on what you're working with, if you have a Python project, you'll have a different list here. But if it's a Next.js project, this is very typical of what you will see in a dot git ignore, and some of those items you can move into a dot Claude ignore and have it run that way.
Okay. I'll ask Claude about it.
Yeah, so it's just another way to save some context as you're working with Claude code. So those two things, like this, just calling out the number of lines to read, as well as potentially adding a .claude ignore file into your project repository to save on some context as you guys are working on projects.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Robert, were you able to play around with the thing you showed me? I also sent you a
No, I saw that. I didn't have a chance to this weekend.
no problem. Yeah, so I put together.
What do you think?
I'm using it on soccer skills as a trial effort to basically every development effort is now going to start with compound engineering, right? And so let me, if I can show you guys this. So so I put this together for an agents.md file, right? If you guys don't know, agents.md is similar to claude.md. And here in this case, it will read agents.md first and then claude.md second. And so this is now a development process that will center itself around compound everything and run through the overall sort of development process, and just keep sort of, itself updated. Obviously, you'll want to change some of this because it's very focused on my Watt linear naming convention and things like that. But overall, this is going to drive my initial, or not my initial, but it's going to drive my development process. And one of the interesting things that compound everything will do is add a solutions folder here. So if I go to soccer skills here, it will add you see this solutions folder, it will add a solutions folder as it's working on items and continue to create a document list based on the way that I'm, wanting to work and different things that we find out as we are building out the project. So it's an interesting approach where now if you look at my agents.md file here, you can see it's essentially, again, it's centered around the compound engineering plugin, right? And I purposely did this because I want to test this out. And so far it's been pretty good. I've added some things to it. For example, the linear portion where in addition to the documents that it's creating, I want it to use linear properly as I do with most of my projects. And then you can also see here that it's going to create its own set of labels and things like that. Then it's also going to make sure that, we're properly branching and committing work as it's progressing, and also implementing a proper pull request strategy as it's working on stuff. So there's a lot of really interesting skills inside of compound engineering. As I sent you that full list of skills, like it's quite extensive in terms of the skills that it comes with. So
Okay.
you want to apply all of its skills as you're working, but definitely pretty interesting. Like the brainstorm, ideate, and plan skills definitely come into play. And I think I mentioned that here in my agents.md. And so, yeah, so I'm giving it a full run based on sort of what I see as a potential positive of compound engineering. So this is sort of now replacing the superpowers plugin, which I use quite a lot of.
Yeah.
And so it seems similar. There seems to be some improvements to what superpowers does, but now again, I've fully baked in compound engineering to my development process through agents.md. And if you see my claude.md, you can see that it's first and foremost pulling in agents.md in the very first line. What does that mean? It means that it's going to prioritize the instructions in agents.md first, and then read the rest of Claude.md as its instruction set. So now I have a combination of both. And the reason agents.md is here is because with the latest version of next.js, it's now automatically creating a .agents.md file as part of its sort of initial scaffolding and creation of the next.js project. So I'm also testing this out where now the development process is in agents, and then the rest of the instructions for the project are inside of Claude.md. You don't really, I don't think you need an agents, but it's a more widely used file, so that you can now take this to Codex or some of your other CLI tools, and it will still read agents.md. So just be aware of that.
All right, so let me make sure I got this right. Compound engineering is a Claude plugin.
Yeah, it's something that Robert showed me, and I'm just taking it for a spin with this project specifically.
And what is Compound Everything?
It is a plugin system that has a bunch of skills, primarily around how you are going to develop applications. And so I think I've showed you guys Superpowers before, which is another, Claude plugin.
Yeah, I've been using that.
Yeah, so Superpowers is awesome. It's great. And from what I've seen so far of compound engineering, it's kind of it's more of
It's more for building something than it is like don't you think it's more related to building an app in production?
Yeah, I think it's sort of a full cycle development plugin versus Superpowers can be taken piece by piece. And it isn't as robust. So the reason I say it isn't as robust is that this is a full set of skills this comes with: ideation, planning, execution, review, git, commit, knowledge compounding. This is where it'll create the solutions folder in your docs. And it's got a few other collaboration and content skills, but primarily it's these items here where you go from brainstorming, ideating your functions that you want to build out or your app. And then it's going to also do planning. And then the main thing here is this work piece, which has like embedded testing and things of that nature. And so the way I've structured my agents.md, it's going to take advantage of the full set of skills. That's what I told Claude to do, I gave it my previous version of my development process, which was using Superpowers. And I said, hey, I'm going to try compound engineering for this project. Build me a new development process using all the capabilities that it comes with. And so that's how, I put this list together. And that list was used to create the agents.md. So that, this is now the full development cycle, right? And so one of the interesting things was that this actually uses Agent Browser by default versus Playwright. And Agent Browser is a Playwright spinoff that was created by Vercel to be a faster sort of browser automation tool. And I've been using it for a while, even before compound engineering. So pretty cool tool. It's a CLI tool that doesn't use as many tokens as Playwright might if you use the Playwright MCP, for example. So yeah, something, I'm not saying that you guys should try out compound engineering, but I'm just showing you guys how I'm embedding it into this new soccer skills project I'm currently working on, and we'll be fully using this to build this out. Like, I'm giving this a full run and seeing if it will work better than Superpowers and some of the other skills that I've been using overall. So we'll see. But what I do like is this solutions section. So you guys can see here, like it's already started to create a bunch of documentation for me so that as it's working on things, it's going to reference these solutions docs as it's working so that I don't have to keep reminding it of how we're building this thing out, right? So it's built basically its own sort of offline memory so that the compound engineering can instruct Claude Code on how certain things should be handled. It's a pretty interesting approach.
So Alex, since soccer was kind of already being built, like, how did you integrate it into the workflow, or did you start from scratch?
Oh, so this is a fresh project, right? It's completely brand new, very, very early days of
Okay.
provision and building this thing out. And so, part of my episode series or my series for the Cloud Code Power Up series that I'm starting today, I have a whole plan around, each episode, right? And so, like this foundation plan was to lay down some of the initial scaffolding for the project, right? So, the database schema and things like that. And so, I from the 10 episodes, each episode is planned out. And so, I ran this plan using this agents.md instruction set, and I had it do the work for me, and that's where it created all of these documents already, right? So you can see here my drizzle documentation as it's building things out. It now knows how to set up the database schema, right? I don't have to go and re-instruct it and things of that nature. So I'm in addition to the completely new Next.js project here, I'm implementing CE so that it can be, I'm going to give it a full test of what this skills or set of plugins can actually do. Like it's going to get a full 100%
cool.
test to build out an app. So we'll see.
Okay.
So far, I like it, especially because as you can see here, I'm in auto mode, and I set it on auto mode on purpose because what I want is in the ability to just have a function or a plan in place, right? So I have, a bunch of plans in place, and I say, okay, let's run the plan in auto mode, and I know that it's going to go from brainstorming, ideating, possibly if it's a big enough task, but all the way to actually committing those pull requests that I know it's completely finished, right? So that's something I'm also testing out is a new, more automated process versus me having to babysit each single step. And so the interesting thing with auto mode, and unfortunately, you guys do need to be on the max plan for Claude Code to get auto mode. But with auto mode, some of the smaller, requests for permission don't appear. Claude will just handle most of those permissions on its own because I've given it auto mode permission, and it'll just keep building until it's done. And you guys can see here, like it went through everything. I didn't this foundation plan, I just let it run. And you can see it went through all the PRs. It just did everything by itself. So far so good. I will let you guys know. But yeah,
When you run on auto, do you ever worry about context or
no, I don't
burning
worry
your
about it
limit?
because it's following a plan.
Okay.
So I'm not letting it like just run with zero context.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm always going to build some level of context. And in these cases, there is a plan document that I'm having it execute in auto mode. So there is a very clear plan of what I know it's going to be working on in auto mode. And once it's done, then I can come back in and review that work and make sure that it's functioning.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So it's not like I'm not just saying, hey, go build, this in a single prompt. That just I don't think it'll do anything worthwhile if you did that. You got to properly build up to context and then let it run from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
What's
I'm good. That. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, do you use any particular techniques for that? Because occasionally, once I've got a solid plan written, I'll let it code overnight. And so I just tell it, don't stop for permissions, do it on your own, as
Yeah.
long as you stay within the strict scope of this project, is what I say.
So I that's where auto mode comes in, and I don't know if you say like strict mode of the plan and stuff like that, like then it starts to become too rigid and not thinking on its own in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know if it's been using auto mode when I tell it that or not.
Yeah, I don't know if that I don't know if you have auto mode, Alex, because you have to be on the max plan. You're still on the pro, right?
I'm on the $100 a month plan.
Yeah. So I think you need to be on the max, which is a 200.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So you have auto, you on except edits on, right? That's the sort of the mode that we're familiar with. But with auto mode on now, that is a part of the permission cycle here. You just say, okay, you don't even have to say anything. It's just turned on, and you'd say, hey, execute this plan following this development process. That's all I do. That's essentially the line, right?
Nice.
And you just need to make sure that your plans are solid. That's up to you. That's your responsibility working with Claude Code to make sure that your plans are solid and within context of whatever you might be building at that time. But outside of that, yeah, like I just let this run. It finished all by itself, and then yeah, I'm pretty happy with it so far, but we'll see. And I'm fully expecting that this solutions folder will continue to grow as the app is getting built out.
Cool.
Yeah.
When it's doing this, do you have a sense of how long it would take?
Oh gosh, Robert, some of these things just, it's so fast because again, you've done the work of planning things out. And so it's just going to finish at the pace that it finishes. Typically, it's anywhere from, 5 to 15, 20 minutes. Not ever like overnight.
Okay.
At least maybe I'm scoping out my plans a little bit smaller than what maybe Alex is doing if you're letting it really run overnight. I don't think I've ever let something run overnight.
Okay.
Because a part of it is because everything compounds, right? It is compounding, and so my approach is like, hey, here's a function or set of features that you're building. I tend to want to make sure that it's fully built, fully tested, and fully working before I put another item on top of that. That's typically how I work, so that build it once, make sure it's working, and then I don't have to think about it again. It's rare that it will break until I've changed something in that feature set at some other period in time,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I'm usually giving it just a package,
Yeah.
a few tasks, or
Okay.
do an audit or
Yeah.
something like that.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. So otherwise, like your job to QA the damn thing afterwards becomes massive, right? Let's say you've built out 10 functions. Now you have to QA and test 10 functions manually versus one function. Yes, Claude Code has tested it as it's building because you're, testing as you're building, but you still have to do your QAing afterwards, make sure everything is working to the level that you expect it to be working. And if it's done, then you already have a set of tests, unit tests, integration tests, or end-to-end tests that as you're pushing it's going to run those tests and make sure everything's working, right? And so that function one, let's say, you know that all those tests are passing. So until something breaks, until something in that test set for function one breaks, you're not thinking about it again because you know it's working and it's going to continue to work. And at some point you do function 5 and all of a sudden tests for function 1 break. You're like, oh shoot, what the heck just happened that something changed in function 1? Does that make sense? So that's how I typically build those are the building blocks. Every function is fully tested, vetted, manually tested by me, and it's all good, all green lights, then boom, boom, let's move on to function 2. And it just keep compounding from there. And again, if something else breaks as you're going, you're doing regression testing and things of that nature, then, then at least it's a little bit easier to pinpoint what broke and fix it from there. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, but I just get nervous for people who are like, build 20 functions overnight, and then you're going to spend 5 days trying to figure out where the hell things broke because you didn't sort of build one by one in a way where you don't understand what just happened. You created your own black box where you don't know what's going on. Versus building blocks one by one, you know exactly what's in that building block. You're very intimate with it, and you can, you build your app from there. That way, it's more efficient that way. It's a little bit slower, obviously, because you're not building so many things at once, but you're all properly building so that your building blocks don't break as you're continuing to grow your app.
So just as a auto mode says it is available on the $100 max plan.
Oh, it is.
It doesn't say, like, I just looked it up on Anthropic's page. It doesn't say how to set it up, but it does say it's available for everyone on the max plan and above.
Okay, so the max is the 200. The pro is the 100.
No, the pro is 20.
Oh, the pro is 20?
Yeah.
Right. The max plan is 100 and 200.
Oh. Okay. 2 levels of max. Got it. Okay. There we go. Okay.
I'm mini max. You're a maxi max.
Okay. I did not. I wasn't aware. I thought there was a different name for the $100 one. I always thought the pro was the $100. Okay. But it's 2 levels of max. But all max accounts, 100 or 200, come with auto mode, which is good.
Good to see you, Tony.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be finally back on here, guys. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's just like work is weird. So like I usually spend Mondays and Tuesdays catching up on sleep.
Okay.
Yeah, but life is good. I'm happy to be back with you guys.
Very good. All right, guys. Have a good day. We'll see you on Wednesday.
Hey,
All right.
Alex, did you ever oh, wait a minute, that was somebody else. I was thinking you were going to do some kind of GitHub demonstration.
I was going to do that. If you guys want to understand like the whole why branch, why commit, why PR or pull request, what is all of that? What does that mean? Happy to cover that for you guys on the next call because it's very critical that you understand how to use Git as you're building on your functionality.
Yeah, I'm using it, or Claude is using it.
Yeah, it's like it's
gritty.
It's a free code repository. I mean, it's that way each function has its own pull request, right? So that you can always reverse things and you can always go back to that pull request and understand each piece has its own sort of commit so that it's always trackable, right? And it becomes more critical as you're also working in teams. But even as a single developer, I'm very sort of strict about my committing and branching and things of that nature, just so that everything is properly organized.
Well, yeah, and it's our backup.
Yeah, you'll thank yourself in the long run.
Yeah.
So
I
you
mean,
just build it into your
using it.
development.
I don't know it in depth.
Yeah.
As long as Claude is using it properly.
Yeah, you just let Claude do the whole setup. You just let it do its thing, and just make sure that you have a proper devs process in place.
Gotcha. Okay. Sorry
All right,
to
guys.
sorry to keep
No
you hanging.
problem. No problem. Talk to you Wednesday. Take care.